perhaps. If I was not coaching football, tough one, but I'll consider coaching athletics. My favorite African song, I'll definitely go for Shosholoza because of its historical significance. What I like about SABC Sport, it's got to be the SABC Sport Extra show because it's very brief. It allows viewers who have busy lifestyles to catch up about the latest sports.
Catch the top-class football analysis of the beautiful game on match days with Thabo, Bookworm Senong, live on Latuma. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
And absolutely welcome to the National Pulse. And of course, first things first, as the Monday edition of the commission, the Madlanga Commission, that's day 4, ended, is your reaction. You don't have to only talk about that. You can talk about any other issues too. But I just do suspect that that's the one thing that everybody wants to get off their chest ASAP. So, what about today? I asked you this the other day, but today again, one word that best describes today's happenings at the Commission. What is it? You can call in live 086 000 2032 and then WhatsApp 0614 104 107. 30 seconds a WhatsApp, please, maximum. You can also tweet using the hashtag The National Pulse and then tag SFM Radio, and do tag me as well. So I'm Ashraf Garda. I trust you had a good weekend reflecting on some of the biggest political issues in the country and certainly globally as well. But I'll hear from you after this.
September is Deaf Awareness Month, a time to celebrate the deaf community, promote inclusion, empowerment, and break communication barriers. Let's listen with our hearts and not our ears. Learn and embrace a South African Sign Language. Join us throughout September for commemoration events, activities that educate, connect, and inspire. Visit our website, foundationnima.org, for more information. This is an SABC-supported initiative.
SAFM's award-winning drama department presents to you the radio drama series Skyline.
Press that to cockpit medical emergency now.
Cabin crew to your stations.
Where the skies promise adventure, but behind the cabin doors, untold secrets are found.
He's signing off on cheap parts they installed like it's nothing.
Catch the radio drama series every Saturday at 9 p.m. on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
When Avukile was diagnosed with blood cancer, his only hope was a stem cell transplant from a matching donor. Thankfully, a perfect match was found, and Avukile received the transplant that saved his life. But thousands of patients in South Africa are still waiting to find their match. Together, we can give more patients like Avukile a second chance at life. Visit dkmsafrica.org.
This is an SABC-supported initiative.
Good day, South Africa. Mark Haskins here, SABC Sport football analyst. My favorite meal between breakfast, lunch, and supper is probably breakfast, even though I'm very much a foodie, so I don't turn away food at any time of the day. I remember the guys used to sing Tula Mama, Mama, Mama. And then when we translated, it was like, really? You're telling your mom to be quiet? Is that really something you would do? What I love about South African football fans is really the passion. My favorite African dish, I would have to say, is mogodo. We call it pens and poikis because of my big calves. I've always been called potris. You know, just make sure you tune in, make sure you support the SABC. We will bring you the best local content and international content.
Catch the exciting analysis of the beautiful game on match days with Mark Haskins, proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Mr. Govinda, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation. and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter, geared for you.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Okay, let's hear it. What's your one word that best describes the National Police Commissioner Fani Masamola's testimony today? That's day 4 of the Madlanga Commission. Of course, you can expand on that, but let's start with that one word if you're up for that, and anything else that you want to get off your chest. 086 000 2032. I'll take your comments and calls right away. In fact, let's do just that. What the one word is.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. The one way to describe what's happening today is kuningi. Simply translate, there's a lot happening. But in Zulu, in a one way, it will be kuningi. Kuningi.
Kuningi. A lot happening. But I mean, is that very specific in terms of what you feel about it? I wonder. Let's get, and there's a couple more on just that too. Let's pick that up too.
Good afternoon, SAFM. This is Luzugo in Cape Town. Look, I have 2 questions that I have to ask. Number 1, is President not aware what is going on intelligence? And if the intelligence is informing him, that doesn't mean that is accurate. I mean, where he as a president have to take an action from the from intelligence information, Number 2, I will say, is there anything that is going to happen after this commission? Because we know the history of South Africa regarding to commissions. This is Luzugo from Cape Town. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Luzuko. I mean, I hear your last point, but the fact is, I mean, we've had that question from so many people, and maybe it's right to be, concerned and I wouldn't even say circumspect, almost like dismissive of the results. But I think for the moment, it has already started, and we need to just deal with it right now in terms of let it play out now. And then we can reflect on just how good or a waste of time or money it may well be.
Good afternoon, SAFM and all the listeners of SAFM. I like to comment today in regard to the Commission of Madlanga. First, I like to thank for SAFM because some of the people, we can't manage to watch the TVs because we are busy. So now at least SAFM, they can be able to give us all the details, because even if you are busy at work, you can be able to put your headphones on your ears and listening the whole topic. So I like to say thank you and pick up. I wish God can protect you guys and continue to well such what you are doing now. That is my concern. I don't have much words. I just say thank you for SAFM. Sia from Cape Town.
Well, thanks for that, Sia. You've given every reason why you are connected to SAFM, and in fact, why everybody else is connected to SAFM. So, absolutely, thank you for that. Much appreciated. And I think it's an important service as well. Here's a question from Dan. Hi, Ashraf. He's right to comply first and then complain later with regards to Minister Mkunu's illegal instruction that is standard police practice. Comply first, complain later, from Dan. Churchill in Mthatha, hello.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it,
Ashraf,
man?
yeah, I'm fine. Let me start also by agreeing with the caller that says there's a lot that is happening. I come to that. What goes on in the dark will always come out in the light. And, I'm wondering, where do they start, our politicians, to convince us to trust them again with our vote, especially the ANC? We've trusted them. South Africans have been patient with the ANC. We've trusted them a lot, but from now on, after these revelations, our country will never be the same again. Even if they can come and try to rebut all what has been said, we can connect the dots. And it's going to be a mountain to climb for them to come back and say they want to convince South Africans to give them another chance.
Okay.
It's not going to be easy.
So you're saying no matter what, the country will never be the same again. Thank you for that, George. So, well, for many people, that may be the best thing, although someone else commented say one word is scary. But it is scary, but I think we need this complete shake-up. When you find, when you go back to the Zondo Commission and the issues of state capture or the state of capture at that time, then that's one thing about big political players. And the other now, in this case here, is political players interfering in policing, etc., and then police themselves interfering in other systems. No wonder we have such big problems. Clearly, this can't continue.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Elfas Nowe in KwaZulu-Natal. One word, corroborate. The National Police Commissioner corroborated what the KZN Commissioner of Police said last week. So now it's up to those who are implicated to deny. Enjoy afternoon, Ashraf.
Okay, there we are. Collaborate. We've heard there's another caller from the Eastern Cape. Wherever you may be in the country, in the world, via live streaming, you can certainly connect to the National Pulse. Kaya, go for it. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good. When you say Kaya, then I think of Kaya Majola. Remember, that's a famous name in the Eastern Cape. So, but go for it anyway.
Yeah, I know that one. He had something to do with the cricket board or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he was a good. He was a fabulous player, then involved in development of the sport in that region. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that story of theirs with Majola and Nyoka and all those people when there was some crisis in the SA cricket board. Yes.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right.
Mm.
Anyways, Ashraf, I just want to say that, the problem with the ANC, I'm just trying to also add to what the last caller was saying, that it will be difficult for them to convince us otherwise. It is because these people, what comes first to them is their comrades, not us as the country. I was listening to Fikile Mbalula speaking over the weekend that with his utterance, you could tell that he doesn't believe General Mkhwana's one bit. He doesn't believe him. So with that kind of attitude, really, as that caller was saying, that we've been patient with the ANC, it just annoys you that these people are not willing to take accountability. There's no way a general could actually say whatever that is said and that it doesn't have proof. And because when I was listening to him, he was actually saying that we need to also look at the timing of this. Why people are coming out now? Why? I mean, these people are working difficult to serve and to save this country. And when they do that, trying to maintain their integrity, they're being questioned as if it's people that we cannot rely on them. When we know very well that whom that we cannot trust. There was a Zondo Commission, nothing was implemented. There were a lot of commissions, by the way, nothing was implemented. So indeed, it's difficult to really trust our politicians because of their records. Because we know that as South Africans, we don't come first to them. Only them that they come first. Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay, got that thing. Thank you for that. Lots to consider coming out of this. There's more, right? There's more comment. Let's pick up another. Here we are.
Good day, Ashraf and SAFM. The word of today is disaster. The National Commissioner, disappointing. He's not confident. He's contradicting himself. It can show that we South Africa, we are under attack of our own people. So that's the word of today. Attack and disaster. Compared to what we heard from the Commissioner, Mr. Commissioner Nhlanhla, it's a disaster. It's a disaster.
But you see, maybe in this disaster that you talk about, the fact that this disaster is being played out on a national platform, isn't that, and in fact, a very, very good thing?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Nathan Mabena. The good part here with this commission is that on the part of the police, investigations are still carrying on. So therefore, it's safe to say we are still kind of like covered in the sense that prosecutions are still going to be made, whether the findings of the commission or without the findings, with or without the findings of the commission. Prosecutions are still going on.
Okay, prosecutions still going on. Let's connect on the National Pulse.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m., only on S3. S3, open up.
This week on FC Meets.
Tisetso and Bandile chat to TS Galaxy's rising Bafana Bafana star Kumlani Ndamane. Find out how this defensive gem handles the pressure of being a starting 11 regular, national duty responsibilities, and overseas ambitions. Tune in to SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4 on Saturday, 27 September at 6 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus.
FC Meets. Football made for community by community. Rich and Jackie.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
All right, more reaction from you. Absolutely welcome. We'll also get an update on this very important United Nations General Assembly meeting that'll happen over the next 2-3 days, in fact, including an address from our president too. And then, of course, I'm sure you have an opinion on Helen Zille. Just think how it sounds. Helen Zille, Mayor of Joburg. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying just the sound, okay? But hey, listen, we're going to play some of the sound bites from her pronouncements over the last couple of days. We'll play that just now. So look forward to that, right? And make of it what you will. Now, let's move on to another big issue. And we know there's a G20 summit coming up in November, right? The South African Municipal Workers Union, SAMWU, is threatening a major labor strike. Well, why? They have demands, and they'll do so if their demands are not met. The union, in fact, have gone so far as to say there will be no G20 in Gauteng if their demands will be ignored. Let's find out exactly, well, what is the state of play here and what are their demands? Leetlo Khonolo Mapatswe is the SAMWU Tshwane region chairperson. Appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very good indeed. Right. So what is the state of play, between let's say yourself and Gauteng province in general, to the point, or even Tshwane, to the point where you in fact feel there's a need to go on strike? What are the issues?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon and good afternoon to our listeners. Look, as South African Municipal Workers Union in Tshwane, we are currently subjected to an administration that is dishonest, an administration that cannot keep its own promises, an administration that has not demonstrated to be, in the forefront of ensuring that we have a healthy relationship with them. Look, they went to the councillors. They went to a special council and resolved that they are going to increase their salaries with 5%, but also that 5% will also find expression on their benefits, your cell phone, your car allowance, and housing allowance. Now, the provincial conference of SAMWU therefore resolved that with the current state of workers in Tshwane, in Johannesburg, in actual fact, in all other regions in Gauteng, we are not going to allow a situation where a government will want to portray themselves when we have international guests, when they do not have the... Yes.
All right, but I tell you what, you need to give me some nuts and bolts here. What I'm saying, when you say they're not speaking their word, what have they said that has so angered you? That means, what promises did they make that they've broken?
No, look, when this new administration came in, led by Nasipi Moya, we convened a meeting with them, and we agreed that we are going to invoke what we call Section 150, which is the CCMA intervention. And we did not find each other there because what they were proposing to workers, it was an insult. And therefore, we resolved that, let us be guided by what the court said. Let us go to the bargaining council and restart the negotiations and see if we can find each other. While we are waiting for the negotiations to conclude at bargaining council, they then go and convene a special council. And remember, once we say something is special, it is of agent. It must be dealt with agently. So they convened a special council to only increase their salaries with 5% only as councillors, undermining the efforts that municipal workers are doing. So that decision on its own created us to then said, no, look, we are prepared to fight and will defend the interest of workers.
Okay, I hear that. So they first pleaded, constraints because of a lack of finances, then increased the councillors' salaries by 5%. I hear that. Did they, when you voiced your displeasure, did they indicate why they've done that and whether they will actually consider an increase for the workers themselves?
Look, the excitement of the union that we had when this administration came in, we thought that we were going to work together and resolve issues that workers are facing. They did not even say anything. This decision to increase their salaries with 5% as councillors came as a surprise. We are not even engaged. We are not even invited into a meeting to say, look, this is what is happening. We're intending to do this thing. How best can we approach it? Nothing. So according to them, workers do not exist. Labor organizations are secondary. No one must be taken serious. It's about them. And we've been having meetings with them. Remember, we had a march around the 6th of August, where we established what we call an ad hoc committee. Ad hoc committee was established mainly to look into the modalities on how best can they honor the 3.5%.
Let's wrap up before we get to news time. So clearly you're not happy with this. Now you're saying, therefore, there will be a labour strike, a major labour strike, if the demands are not met. So what are your demands? And if they are not met, what is the nature of this major labour strike?
Okay, one, we are saying that that council must reverse the 5% salary increase for councillors and ensure that we re-establish discussions on how best can we pay the 3.5% for workers, also reinstating the dismissed. So those are our demands that we expect to be implemented. But look, the issue of G20, it is no longer a Tshwane matter alone. It is a provincial conference resolution of SAMU. All regions, all members of SAMU in Gauteng, more than 50,000 members of SAMU in Gauteng will be mobilized. Civic organizations will be mobilized so that we are able to demonstrate. We are, natural fact, we are taking this fight directly to the office of the president.
Okay.
Because this executive does not have the capacity.
All right, so I hear about the 50,000 mobilization. We're on to news time. When you say there will be no G20, what does that mean? No G20?
Look, they are using us to ensure that they are portrayed as the government that is servicing. It's us who are closing polls. It's us who are making sure that they are lives. So why must we do work for people who do not have our interest? We are saying G20 will never happen. We're already working on a build-up program to ensure that G20 will never happen.
Let's leave it at
that.
I suspect we're going to have many more conversations about G20 never happening in Lekhlonolo. Mapatswe, the Sambu Tshwane region chairperson. Now, what do you make of that? Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula has told the Madlanga Commission that the disbandment of the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team occurred while he was still on annual leave. The funeral service of the National Taxi Alliance chairperson Thamsanqa Moyo will be held on Saturday in Soweto. A memorial service in his honor will take place on Thursday. And the recognition of Palestine by countries such as Australia has sharpened focus on the long-standing conflict in the Middle East. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Alexandra, queuing towards London Road. The M1 northbound in Johannesburg has a crash at Crown Interchange, and Malibongwe Drive westbound in Sharon Lee, slow moving at President Fashir Drive. In KZN, the N2 northbound in Chatsworth has a crash reported before the M1 Higginson Highway exit, and the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg, a stationary truck before Market Road. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway, the N2 outbound is slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, and Hilberson Drive southbound in Panorama queuing towards Rothschild Boulevard. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Tumi, you've got a cricket story.
I do. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, the Proteas have been hit with a blow, with Captain Themba Bavuma ruled out of action for Pakistan tour because of a left grade 2 calf strain. Adam Markram will step in to lead the side as Bavuma recovers from his injury he sustained during the tour to England. Keshav Maharaj, on the other hand, has been named for the second test only. He's in his final stages of rehabilitation from a left groin strain. Then, guess who's back playing one-day internationals again? Quinton de Kock, who's now reversed his decision to retire from ODIs. He's now recalled in the Proteas ODI and T20s team that will face Pakistan starting next month. So I guess a great boost for South Africa before next year's T20 World Cup in India and Sri Lanka, and the 50-over World Cup, for which South Africa are co-hosts in 2027.
No, it was quite interesting when we got to Australia in the middle of the night. We got to Darwin, and I just put my head on the pillow at about 2 a.m. when my phone rang, and it was Quinny. And I chatted for a bit, and I said I'd come back to him in a couple of days, and chatted to a few people, and the rest is history.
That's
Great to have him
Proteas.
back on board.
That's Proteas coach Shukri Conrad. Meanwhile, in live cricket action, the Proteas women were bowled out for 115 after 25 overs after batting first in the third ODI against Pakistan. Nashra Sandhu claimed a career best of 6 for 26, with Laura Fulvard top scoring for South Africa at 28. Just looking at the score on the go, Pakistan currently on 104 for 4 in the 28th over. They just need 12 runs to win. Then in netball, the Baby Spa Proteas are really flying the South African flag high at the Netball World Youth Cup. They claimed their second win of the tournament with a 105-15 thrashing of Trinidad and Tobago. Get this is their second match where they win with more than 100 goals. The first one was over Barbados on Sunday, and they won that one 102-27.
Not really focused on aiming 100 goals. I think that really took care of itself. Our main priority was really to sticking to our structure, applying the pressure, maintaining the consistency, and the scoreline is simply just a product of their efforts and how they put so much effort on our off days, on our when we're training. While the result is impressive, we also just need to focus on keeping and improving in each game. There were still moments where we really rushed plays, some missed opportunities, but, less concentration on defense. Stronger opponents will really capitalize, these laps. But overall, the game really shows on what we're capable of.
Head coach Precious Mthembu. Then in rugby, Rikwa's coach Peter Berg says that his side's Currie Cup title proves that there's still space for smaller unions to thrive in South African rugby. In a dramatic Ellis Park final, the Rikwa's edged the Lions 27-25. The victory ended in a 55-year wait for the Kimberley side, who last lifted the trophy back in 1970.
I'm so emotional. I've been emotional since the final whistle. The whole week I said on Monday, I walked into the team room and I said, if I hear the words URC this week, you get a 500 rand fine. We're not playing against the URC, we're playing against the Lions, and they've got 23 players and we've got 23 players, and it wasn't mentioned the whole week, and that was the mindset going into this game. So I think for the competition going forward, I think there's definitely not an asterisk next to this win. I think it's a proper Currie Cup win, and to do it, for long we've said that there's room for the smaller units in South African rugby, and hopefully this shows that we can compete with a budget probably 20% of the Lions budget. We came here and beat the full strength Lions team, who brought Springboks in for the final.
Then in football, it's the big night in the world of football. Ballon d'Or time, the most prestigious awards night in the world of football. Top contenders for the awards are Liverpool's Mo Salah, Ousmane Dembele of PSG, Bayern Munich, Harry Kane, Lamine Yamal of Barcelona, and Kylian Mbappe of Real Madrid. In terms of how they choose, the Ballon d'Or is basically awarded by an international jury of specialized journalists with one representative per country from the top 100 in the latest FIFA rankings for men and top 50 for women, and each one selects 10 players in a descending order of merit from a list of 30. Now, the Ballon d'Or is then awarded to the player with the highest number of points, with the 10 selected players being awarded 15, 12, 10, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points respectively. Now, this award is basically based on three main criteria: individual performances, decisive and impressive character, team performances and achievements, and class and fair play. So, Ashraf, a lot of people are tipping Ousmane Dembele to take this one. Do you agree with them? I do know that Real Madrid are also not going to be there again.
I have to tell you honestly, I'm not keeping an eye on it since there's not a single Manchester United player in the running. So I've sort of discarded it. So I don't know, because I'll be just guessing. But I thought the interesting one, did they say one of the criteria is like good behavior or something like that?
They're basically just looking at how they performed in the league overall.
Yeah, but isn't one of the things like a good character or something like
Individual performance?
No, not that. It was something else I heard you say.
Impressive character. Decisive and impressive character.
Which one of the top 20 Ballon d'Or winners over the years have shown impressive character? I'm not talking about ability, I wonder. Okay, but I don't know your answer to say whether I can give you a prediction. But you're the predictor, not me.
I think Dembele is actually going to walk away with it.
Okay. Good player.
Yeah.
Seen him. Yeah.
I'll have more in
With
the next
misinformation and disinformation around us all the time, where can we turn to for news and information that is not fake? Radio, of course, your number one trusted source of reliable and truthful news and information. For over 3 decades, we have been a signatory to the BCCSA Broadcasting Code of Conduct, and we pride ourselves as a trusted source of information. Say no to false news and disinformation that circulates online. Radio, keeping it real and fighting fake since day one. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to all those numbers with Makwe Masilela, the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. You've been away all of last week, Makwe. I've noted that. And you've come back with a quick report on PPC, right?
Yeah, Ashraf, afternoon to you and to the listeners. The guys continue to deliver on their awakened giant strategic turnaround, as demonstrated in their 4th month results. Even in a weak South African macroeconomic environment, revenue was up 4%, driven by growth in sales volumes. Overall financial performances, EBITDA continued to increase, with EBITDA margins at 15.9%, and that is not bad, Ashraf, given the depressed market. And we know the market's notched all-time highs, underpinned by further rate cut hopes following U.S. first rate cut since December. Sentiment also lifted by Trump's comments that there's progress when it comes to the U.S.-China trade talks, and traders are searching for new catalysts to drive markets. And Trump's visa policy is dimmed sentiment to some extent, and many sectors, especially U.S. technology, are heavily reliant on skilled workers from India and China. Locally, our Q3 BR retail survey dropped by a whopping 10% to 32%, meaning retail retailers are anticipating trouble to come in terms of consumer demand. Ashraf, our economy is over 60% driven by consumer demand, and gold punches to all-time highs at the back of expected more rate cuts, but the resilient dollar is limiting the gains, and we see yellow metal is up 1% at 3,720, but platinum is flat at 1,403. Oil prices dip as concerns over Russia and Middle East were countered by oversupply jitters. We see Brent crude is down 0.6% at $66 a barrel. Stock markets rally post after earlier marginal gains, as one Fed official said he sees limited room for more interest rate cuts, with the local post down 0.1%, but we've been cautioned by our resources, which are up 2%. The rand is flat against the dollar 17.34, 23.40 against the pound, and 20.40 against the euro.
Thank you for that, Mark. We'll connect again with you tomorrow, but don't forget, you've got a full hour of the market update with Jimmy Moyaha coming up from 7 is sport, 6 to 7 this evening.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So I asked the question about Helen Zille. She confirmed what has been spoken about for a good few weeks or months, that she will stand for the mayorship of the city of Johannesburg. So why? There's been lots of comments that she's made all through the last day or so. We've picked out some. She had a chat with Leanne Manners on the SABC's Morning Live show earlier today, and we thought, let's just get you to listen to what she said. One, about the mayorship, why now?
Well, I do agree with you that it's now or never for Johannesburg, and the voters need to realise that the city is almost irreversibly broken. But I don't think it is quite there yet. I do think it is reversible. Otherwise, I wouldn't be trying to do this job. So I do think with an enormous effort of the people of Johannesburg and a facilitative city council and a mayor working alongside people and being a catalyst for change, that it can be turned around. Joburg has one huge thing going for it, and that is what is called in the academic literature social capital. It has got organizations, it has got active citizens, and for every major problem in Johannesburg, you'll find organized citizens working to solve it. And it is that partnership that is Joburg's last hope. That partnership between a facilitative city council getting behind active citizens to ensure that what is broken is fixed. That is what we're going to do.
Are you fit for this? And that, I ask you this because that's probably one of the most, you've heard it too, I don't need to remind you, you read it everywhere. Your age constantly is thrown into the conversation. This is a long journey ahead of you. I mean, this is just the start of what is going to be, I think, a gruesome battle in the run-up to the heart of the country, which is Joburg. I'm still calling it the heart of the country because it is, but it's
Absolutely,
a big battle.
It is. Yes, it is a big battle. And my age is actually nothing. I mean, you know, I'm here, I feel as fit as I did when I was 25, probably more so. The one advantage I have now over what I had when I was 25 was that I have much more experience. And I think every job I've ever done in my life has prepared me for this challenge. So I feel up to it. I've certainly got a lot of energy, and I was blessed with that by my genetics. Some people have retired at 35. Other people are having a midlife crisis at 75.
Okay, I feel fitter now than when I was 25. That's not me talking, that's Helen Zille, the DA mayoral candidate. Well, one of the fundamental issues around service delivery is, you know, you can wish what you want, but if you don't have the money, what do? This is what she said.
That work in preparation for the grueling interviews that I went through to get this nomination. So I have an idea of what the budget looks like, and it is a very worrying picture. In Johannesburg, there is enormous duplication. So you have all these municipal entities, and you have those jobs duplicated in the administration for reasons that I still can't understand. And instead of providing huge professional capability through those municipal entities, they are really like the state-owned enterprises. They are there for deployed cadres, and many of them have very little expertise to do those critical jobs for which they're very highly paid. Massive problem. Then there is the serious problem of the division of the budget between operational and capital expenditure. Now, operational expenditure is what you spend on your army of staff. And it's no secret that Johannesburg has become an employment bureau for ANC friends, relatives, cadres, and is packed to the rafters with anybody who may need a job, whether or not they have skills. Then you have the problem of far too little money going into maintenance. Now, that is perhaps your most crucial budget in a city administration, is your maintenance budget. Joburg spends less than 1% of its budget on maintenance, the lowest of any city. It should be edging up to 8%. But they hardly spend anything on maintenance, and the ratio between operational and capital expenditure is far too high. You can spot that at a distance when you look at the budget. That all has to be fixed. The next thing that you do is that you ask the Auditor General to give you the management letter, because in the management letter it goes far deeper than simply whether you got a clean audit or a qualified audit or whatever findings you had. It goes into detail of where the rot is, of where the problems are. And when we took over Cape Town and the Western Cape, what we did was we invited the Auditor General in. They are very professional, they are very helpful, and they take you through it with a tooth comb, and they say, this is what you have to do to fix it. And I found that listening to the Auditor General's office has paid off handsomely in the results that you get in government.
So I welcome your calls on Helen Zille and the commission that's been going on all day, and of course that UN General Assembly and what's going to come out of that imminent, right? But here's a question to you. Seriously, would you vote if you're a citizen of Joburg? So I'm not talking about someone who's in Tegwini. You're in Joburg. If you're a citizen of Joburg, would you be voting for Helen Zille, considering the state of your city right now? Do you see her as a savior, number one? And number two, do you think that strategically the DA has what it takes to garner enough votes for her to become the mayor of the city of Joburg? I say this because it's an interesting thought. I mean, look at where she is. Former mayor, former leader of the DA, well, mayor of Cape Town, that is, leader of the DA, federal chairperson. What is it that would drive her to get back to the city of Joburg, from where she comes from? Besides the fact that it is a mess, I see some major strategy here from the DA. What I see is they see low-hanging fruits, that if they can fix up Joburg like they fix up Cape Town in the municipal election, then they're a shoe-in to dominate the national election in that region. And the opportunity is too big to turn down. So they're going to give it everything they can. And you may ask the question, then what about the ANC? Well, you have to say this. The only reason we can even put Helen Zille into the race for the mayorship is because of what has happened to the city of Joburg over the last 20 years or so. Clearly, it's a mess. And in many ways, this election, the local government election for the city of Joburg mayorship, right, with a high-profile person from outside, is in fact a bigger referendum, not on Helen Zille, but in fact a massive referendum for the ANC ahead of the general election. Now, you think about that too. I want to get your thoughts. Do call in, and you certainly can also send us your voice notes as well. Let me get to some of those voice notes firstly.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Nathan Mabena. The good part here with this commission is that on the part of the police, investigations are still carrying on. So therefore, it's safe to say we are still kind of like covered in the sense that prosecutions are still going to be made, whether the findings of the commission or without the findings, with or without the findings of the commission. Prosecutions are still going on, investigations are still going on. That's the good part of it. Thank you.
What you've said to a large degree mirrors so many other people's thoughts. I'll get more comments from you and, of course, more calls because you are so connected, I know that, to the National Pulse.
The SABC News Portal is your one-stop digital platform for all the news you need. Stay connected with the latest and breaking stories. Listen to all SABC radio stations live, including podcasts, and also watch the SABC News channel with clips and live streams of all the big news events. Simply download the SABC News app on your smartphone from the Play or App Store. SABC News, independent and impartial. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Well, you certainly are. Let's hear your thoughts. Loward in Alberton. Hello.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Yeah, good afternoon. What's your point?
Yeah, yes, my brother. This Madlanga Commission, Ashraf, is revealing to us, a lot of us, that some within the sector, in the intelligence space, who are entrusted with the operational responsibilities of our state security have been lax, and they've been so compromised. So we appreciate the work of the commission. Hopefully, something positive is going to come out of it on the part of prosecutions and all that. Of course, where I'm sitting, put figuratively, I've been backing at the wrong tree, squarely at the door of the president, accusing him that he seems to be a bit soft in terms of state security. We have tend to forget what happened in the 2021 attempted insurrection, Ashraf. So, but my point is that it's high time that the rod should be uprooted from all spheres of government, especially in the security cluster of our country, because we are so compromised. If the state security or intelligence is compromised, it means we'll be watching these mass murders and everything else which is out of the ordinary. So hopefully this commission, especially the investigators, they are going to be pressing criminal charges against everyone who is involved in compromising our state security.
Got that. Let's see what happens. I mean, you see, on the one hand, you're right. What this proves is how inadequate some of our leadership is. But it also proves how we actually do have some really, really good people. Good people are willing to front up for the benefit of our country. Lawat, thanks for that. Tokozani in Joburg, you're live. Go for it. What's your point?
Hi, Ashraf. I'm in Durban, Ashraf.
Yeah, I got that.
My point. My point for the one word of the commission today, it's clandestine.
Okay, why?
It shows the secret meetings that happen in the dark and that involve powerful people. It holds the secrets of the intelligentsia.
Well, and maybe that confirms what many people always say. There's so many things that happen without us knowing about it. Okay, got that, Tokozani. Thank you for that. We stay in Durban. Yes, Michael, hello.
Yes, good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon, Michael. What's your point?
Hi, my point, I concur with other caller. Our commissioning today was disastrous. You know, the commissioner, Judge Madlanga, tried by all means to bring back Fanny Masimula to indicate whether the instruction was lawful and unlawful. And it becomes clear that there were discussions that happened between the minister and Fanny Masimula. And also it was clear that President Cyril Ramaphosa was aware of the political task team, and also he was aware that there is a discussion whether to disband it or not, because given the fact that he had a meeting with Senzo Mchunu, the president, on the business. So it tells you there's a lot of things that we don't know on the ground. We may just blame Sbia, but the information came from above. So I'm learning.
Okay.
And I think, again, Fanny Masimula is just falling for pressure of politics. If you are a manager employed by government, I'm a manager myself, you don't fall for pressure from politics. You stood your ground, you quote the legality, you look at prescription that's guiding you to have a span of control over your work. Now he's saying, I'm limited because of X, Y, Z. No, you stand your ground if you're a manager. For me, it seems like he doesn't have someone who has a backbone who can be reliable.
Well, I mean, some others have said normally you just take orders and then you complain. I'm not that person. I don't know. Michael in Durban, thank you for that. But I mean, all of this is unraveling, right? And it does lead us to questions about so many aspects of South African governance in the police force and in other aspects of South African society. To Limpopo we go. Fred, you're live. Go for it.
Ashraf, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well. Right. What's your point?
Very short stretch to the point. We actually have learned today that they are big five. We also actually have learned that the president was aware that the task team, which was made to be responsible, has been disbanded or was planned to be disbanded. So the big question that one might have as a citizen of this country, after Mr. Masamala or Commissioner Masamala have said the president, he spoke to the president after realizing that a wrong decision is to be taken. What did the president say? We are more interested as to the decision which was taken by the president. We are saying we have in the president. Let the president be summoned, and I would appreciate if one among the questions that he might be asked was that to say, indeed, have you ever had a chat with the National Commissioner? And in fact, what did you say? What did you say? Because I think that's where the problem started. Actually, that's where the problem intensified. After the communication between the Deputy National Commissioner and the President, or actually the Minister and the President, without the regard of the National Commissioner, that's where the problem was started. Okay. So we are more interested, and I believe you me, if really we can have a breakthrough of we as citizens knowing as to what transpired there, I believe many people will be arrested.
Okay, well, start praying. Let's hope that is precisely what is going to happen, right? Thank you for that. Let's get to some of your comments. I'm an EFF member, but to save Joburg, I will vote DA in the next municipal election. That is my secret. Do you know any EFF member who votes DA? Well, listen, stranger things have happened in the world. I've known ANC members become leaders of the EFF and so on, right?
Hi, Ashraf. Roskin Pologan. Well, I wouldn't disagree with any of those things that Helen has said about Joburg. Everything's true. If I was to vote for the DA for Gauteng, even nationally, I wouldn't. Yes, they will do better than ANC. That's a given. But then I've got my own reservations, especially given the track record with regards to townships in Western Cape. I still have issues there. So I'd rather give it to Action SA and EFF to run Joburg. Try them. I mean, I don't lose anything by trying. Thank you.
Okay. EFF, Action SA to run Joburg, and they may say bring in Herman Mashaba once again to do so. He's got the experience. I wonder which way you'll go with this vote.
Good afternoon, Ashra. Helen Zille has had her days. She must just prepare for her pension, nice package, and go and enjoy all the hard labor that she endured and worked for. And then I prefer Mashaba to return to Johannesburg, not Dada. Mashaba, we need to support Mashaba. Helen, the time is up. It's time to hang those boots, gloves, and then, go and play with your grandchildren. Thank you. Godfrey Sasolbeck.
Okay. Funny part, I'm not speaking for her, but there's some much younger people who shouldn't be in office as well anyway.
Mr. Garda, AJ here from Bloemfontein. I like a good conspiracy theory, and I'll pose this one in a question. Isn't it strange or rather interesting how Helen Zille's announcement to run for mayor of Johannesburg coincides with President Cyril Ramaphosa's criticism of how the ANC run municipalities in comparison to how the DA runs municipalities. So just an interesting point. And like I said, I pose it as a question.
Well, look, there's no question. I think we all knew she was going to stand, so it didn't come up just this week. We knew she was going to run for mayor at least for a good few months. But the announcement is what good communications does. And there's no question about it that the DA milked the Ramaphosa endorsement of the DA municipalities. And if they were going to do it in 3 months' time or in January, because there's a long way to the election, it's like, do it now, milk it. And they've done that. Here's the news at 5 with Greg House.
Thank you. Ashraf Masemola testifies on KZN Political Killings Task Team and reaction to recognition of Palestine. Good day to you. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, has told the Matlanga Commission that the disbandment of the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team occurred while he was still on annual leave. The task team was disbanded at the end of December last year. Masemola is testifying at the Matlanga Commission in Pretoria. He added that the police minister, Senzo Mchunu, didn't warn him about the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team, despite them attending a funeral of a police captain in KZN in December last year.
Despite this, at no point during our interaction did the minister indicate any intention to disband the PKTT, let alone immediately or express concerns about its operations. This lack of prior warning made the subsequent developments all the more unexpected.
Princess Masindi Mpepu's lawyer Alan Dotson told the Polokwane High Court in Limpopo that a king has the authority to appoint a successor. He says that King Mpepu appointed his son as his successor through a letter addressed to the government. Dotson is cross-examining cultural expert Zimakukle Mupai. Princess Mpepu is challenging her uncle and former Bavenda king, Prince Tony Mpepu Ramabulana, to ascend to the throne. Dotson says it's custom for a king to appoint the next heir to the throne.
Mpepu, he told me before he not feel sick, and he said, if I be dead, because I have many children myself, my sister Fonzani, you don't lose my son in Bulaheni. You must put him on my place. You not change this boy, George M.M. Ramabulana, must he sit onto my house. Then to say 28th January 1925, I took him, put onto the front of the Indunas, and all people's sons of the Indunas very glad. Well, no trouble, and your policeman Johannes, he was with us. This good. Says all nations of Bavenda, then glad if them see chief, because then being belongs our chief. Now, what I suggest to you is that this is further evidence of the practice of a chief identifying his successor.
Pino Mupai has refuted Dotson's statement.
The king is making known his wishes concerning a particular son. But you read again, you realize that the king understands the custom and he is instructing or making known his wish to someone or to a council that has the powers to do the job. So it cannot be read, if you were to use it, cannot be read that the king was, according to the Masingo of Ramabulana, as it is their custom, appointing his heir. He was simply making his wish.
The funeral service of the chairperson of the National Taxi Alliance, Thamsanqa Moyo, will be held on Saturday in Soweto. A memorial service in his honour will take place on Thursday. He was gunned down on the Soweto highway near Diepkloof last week. Alliance spokesperson Theo Malele.
We will be doing a memorial service on Thursday, starting from 11 o'clock, and we will bury him at the West Park Cemetery on the hero site, and this will happen on Saturday. So these are the logistics in relation to the slain chairperson of the National Taxi Alliance. Well, it's very, very difficult, even for most people that were in there. It's a somber moment. It is a great loss indeed if you look at the leadership positions that he held. This took us by surprise, we must confess, but we have braved it and just said to ourselves, we will pick up the baton from where he left it.
The recognition of Palestine by countries such as Britain, Canada, Australia and Portugal a sharpened focus on the long-standing conflict in the Middle East. Speaking on the sidelines of the G20 foreign ministers meeting in New York in the US, South Africa's International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola said the development marks a turning point.
This is a development, and we see it as a major turning point to deal with the Israel impunity that is currently unfolding in the Gaza Strip, including the UN Human Rights Commission's report, which has provided with forensic detail the fact that what is currently unfolding in Palestine and the Gaza Strip is genocide. So we welcome this. It's a turning point. We call all members of the United Nations to follow suit.
Top story. The National Police Commission has told the Matlanga Commission that the disbandment of the KZN Political Killings Task Team occurred while he was on annual leave. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
In sports, the Sour Curling Knockout officially launched and Quentin de Kock comes out of ODI retirement after 2 years. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Pretoria has a stationary truck reported after Garsfontein Road. Baysnodea Drive westbound in Honeydew has delays towards Christian de Wet Road, and the N3 southbound in Germiston queuing towards Geldnys Interchange. In KZN, the M7 St. John's Avenue northbound in Pinetown has a crash at the M13 highway, the N2 northbound in Chatsworth, a crash before the M1 Higginson highway exit, and on the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg, a stationary truck before Market Road. In Cape Town, Govan Bekkie Road eastbound in Khayelitsha, slow moving at Swartklip Road, slow moving traffic also reported in the central Stellenbosch area, and Main Road northbound, slow moving through Cork Bay. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
We all know a Miss Sarah, that parent who randomly calls to check up on you.
Mjanam, when are you visiting?
She knows that every call or text goes towards her free funeral cover. She'll keep calling until she spent at least 120 Rand a month.
Mara, why haven't you accepted my friend request? Huh?
For every convo or scroll, you get 10,000 Rand free funeral cover. Recharge with 120 Rand every month to get covered. No paperwork, debit orders, or medicals. Recharge on the VodaPay app or dial *123#. T's and C's apply. Underwritten by Vodacom Life Assurance Company, a licensed life insurer. Further together, Vodacom.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, I welcome further comments from you, and we'll take them as soon as we can. About Helen Zille for mayor, and whether she's got what it takes to become the mayor, and do they practically, strategically, the DA that is, do they have what it takes to convince enough people for her to get the majority to become the mayor, whether it's 50+1 or in a coalition of sorts. So you may want to comment on that. Linked to that is one of the things that she said, which is so puzzling, and is puzzling many people, when she was asked about whether what's happening in Israel is a genocide. And I'm paraphrasing, and she made the point, like, she can't say because she can't see it from a distance, but in the same way, meaning because she's far away, she's unable to comment about it, but in the same way pronounced on the fact that Hamas, she's aware of, has done everything it can to destroy Israel. That's just one thing. Now, what about the commission that's going on? We're going to talk about that too now, in fact, but you can add your thoughts. And then the General Assembly, United Nations, that is a lot happening there, and as it happens against the backdrop of some significant pronouncements, first by our president coming up, but also in terms of the political changes taking place in the world. So do listen out to that. We're going to cross to the SABC News reporter in Pretoria about, rather at the United Nations General Assembly coming up later on. First things first, let's get to the Madlanga Commission. Of course, you know that every day, that first hour or so of this show, we do cover and take it in live because you need to know. So what happened today? Sebat Lemota has been covering that story. The SABC News reporter speaking to us from Pretoria. Appreciate your time as always, Sebatla. Thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you. Now, I take it, of course, in the space of like 5 or 6 hours, there's a lot to talk about, but perhaps there's like maybe 5 key bullet points that may well have emerged. So I'll leave it to you to pronounce one after the other in terms of importance, what came through today.
So I think the main focus, Ashraf, is obviously this political killing task team that is at the center of the Madlanga Commission, and General Mfani Masimula basically corroborating Mkhwana's evidence that Clayton Tony, the police minister, had no right, or it was not in his jurisdiction to actually disband the political killings task team. So that is one. And the second one is just him saying that he gave an example of a political killings task team that existed in 2017. And this is where they decided that because it was not yielding the appropriate results, they decided to disband it. And when it was disbanded, this political killing task team, there was a process that was followed, and there were police generals who disbanded it with the knowledge of police commissioner Kehla Sithole, giving the go ahead. And he said there was no need to tell then police minister Peggy Cele about the disbandment of this political killing task team because it's not in his jurisdiction. Plus, it's a political killing task team that exists in the province, and obviously the names of Ted Matlala as well as Katiso Molefe making yet another comeback to say that their houses were raided in December. Katiso Molefe was actually arrested, and Ted Matlala, he was only arrested a few months later, I think around May. And then another issue that also came up is the kidnapping of Jerry Bushofa, where somebody in Fanny Masimola's office approached him and just said, listen, I have information that links Shredik Sibia to this issue that this Jerry person may be kidnapped, and Shredik Sibia also having links to a criminal underworld syndicate, which is Ted Matlala. And I think the final one is also just Masimola saying that he and Lieutenant General Dumsani Khumalo then approached Mkhulu saying they believe that Lieutenant General Sibia may be involved in this or with a criminal syndicate. So I think more puzzles are coming back into the picture much stronger, and what Masimola's evidence has actually revealed is that General Khumalo, who's also at the center of many arrests and leading the political killing task team in KZN since 2018, will corroborate more of the facts and how they took down the lives of Ted Matlala, and how they also took down the lives of KT Molefe. And also maybe he will also take us through, the reasons and the functions of the political killing task team, especially in KwaZulu-Natal and its successors.
Okay, so that is significant, and I mean, and I know, and I'm just looking at some of the quotes from Masimola in terms of what he said. I mean, amongst the ones, and I think this is telling. I don't expect the minister to instruct on how to perform operational functions, right? I mean, amongst the many things that he said, and of course he iterated the issue of the political killings task team. Did he say anything else here that completely stood off the page? And as you answer that, perhaps just how did you think he came across in terms of how he faced up in the public space, keeping in mind he's going to be compared, and he has been compared to the person who testified for the previous 3 days and a bit?
Definitely. I mean, there was a point when the commissioner actually asked him and said, or rather Justice Madlanga asked him that would you be able to tell the police minister to stop him in his tracks and tell him that the decision that he wanted to take is actually an unlawful one. And he said he would be, but there was a big but in there. He would have to explain himself, I mean, in a manner that makes sense. And again, in this commission, Ashraf has also discovered that, Fanny Masimula actually was in the process of disbanding this political killings task team. He called it a winding down, saying that he did not agree with the police minister's directive, but it was actually a winding down of operations and the team, and which led many to believe that he was actually going ahead with the winding down. And I think Masimula's testimony in the Madlanga Commission should be looked in as it's a political office, and he can't just unilaterally at times just take instruction or just take decisions because it's such a political office, So I think his demeanor, he wanted to be firm on his answer, but he couldn't, because he even said that taking such decisions comes at a cost, it can cost a person their jobs. So he's been very, very careful in how he uses his words. No defense, the winding down.
Which obviously does suggest there's no independence, rather there's a sense of interdependence, which is another whole conversation. Just lastly, what's on the agenda tomorrow?
So tomorrow, I think we should get more details about Kat Matlala and sort of his association with General Frederick Sibiya, and a bit more on General Frederick Sibiya. And we are expecting that Fanny Masemola will be concluding his evidence tomorrow.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll probably chat tomorrow and do another reflection or recap on the goings-on at the commission, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Thank you for that, Sibatle Mota. It means you have a chance to air your views wherever you may be. You could well be in New York right now, for all I know, or maybe somewhere in New Delhi in India, wherever it is, or Johannesburg, Newtown maybe. I want to hear what you have to say. You're on the pulse.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
So here's an interesting one. The DA claims Cape Town is often praised as South Africa's best-run metro. But residents in poor areas like Khayelitsha, Valhalla Park and Kalksteenfontein, I think it is, and Samora Machel paint a very different picture. The city blames delays on violence, extortion and vandalism, but residents argue they've been neglected for years and want real solutions, not political point scoring. Refer to the article in the Cape Times by Nicola Daniels. That comes from MK. We'll tell you what, why don't you send us that, maybe just tweet out the article. You can tag me and SFM Radio on the Twitter profile. Get more comments from you, which we'll do. In fact, we're going to do that right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195, and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Greetings, South Africa. My name is Walter Steenbok, SABC Sport football analyst. My favorite African dish, pap and mukhodu. My top three holiday destinations will be Thailand, followed by Cape Town, and of course Zanzibar. Yeah, between a train driver and a pilot, I'll really choose to be a train driver, because I'm on the ground. It's very, very safe, and I hate heights. Between fruits and veggies, I think I like fruits, especially apples. I love to kick penalties against. Between Sipho Chine and Ronwen Williams, I'll choose Ronwen Williams because I'll put it right in the middle. I saw over the weekend.
Do not miss out on electrifying football analysis on Match Days with Walter Koyoko Steenbok. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Right, make a note of this. The Spar Baby Proteas they've started taking part in the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 in Gibraltar. It started a few days ago, going up to the 28th of September. And these are our rising stars. Hashtag Together We Rise, brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
All right, there's so much happening. There's the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. In fact, it begins tomorrow, right? And South Africa's president is there. He's expected to take part in a two-state solution high-level meeting. And, that concerns Israel and Palestine, right? But let's find out more about that and a whole lot more, including that South Africa, of course, are chairing the G20. How significant is that they're in the USA right now? Khayelitsha Khumalo is with me from the SABC News International Desk. Good to connect with you as always here on the National Pulse.
Lovely. Thanks so much for having me, Ashraf.
Thank you. Right. So first of all, there's session after session after session of the United Nations General Assembly. Is this one the 80th one? It's a difficult one, I suppose, to answer, but just how significant is this?
Well, certainly, Ashraf. I mean, experts are saying this is a consequential UNGA or UN General Assembly, especially in light of the global challenges, whether you're talking about inequality, whether you're talking about the conflicts, Sudan, South Sudan, the current situation in Ukraine as well. And I think for South Africa, it's quite a very symbolic moment, especially now, currently as the country is chairing the G20. So it's going to amplify the voice of the global south, talking about these challenges, but also in the main, for example, Ashraf, highlighting some very long-standing challenges, whether you're looking at sustainable development goals. You spoke about the very all-important issue of the international conference, the peaceful settlement on the two-state solution between Palestine and Israel. South Africa, I mean, has been involved in that for some time now. You look at the ICJ case where South Africa took Israel over the genocide being committed in Gaza. So it's a myriad of issues, Ashraf, and also whether you're looking at issues around climate change as well. But also this is going to be a very important time, Ashraf, for South Africa. You know that when it comes to South Africa's foreign policy, the issue of the emphasis of the peaceful resolution of conflict through dialogue, South Africa will be emphasizing this particular issue.
How, just help us understand this. So typically, at a session of the UN General Assembly, what typically takes place there?
Well, it's quite a very important moment, Ashraf. In fact, you know, they say this is a biggest diplomatic week of the year in New York, where the world leaders, you know, they descend into New York to look at really the very critical issues, where the leader will get an opportunity to state really their priorities, where they are allocated time. In fact, others, they go as far as making comparison that this is almost like a world parliament, especially given the very size of the United Nations, the General Assembly, where the countries, irrespective of their size, they all enjoy equal vote. So when you talk about also the reforms of the United Nations Security Council, is going to be one of the key issues, Ashraf, for South Africa. As you know, that the African Union does have a position where they say at least the African continent should be given about 2 permanent seats to be part of really this all-important global body, especially, Ashraf, when you talk about the issues of peace and security. A bulk of these issues are from Africa. I think that's why Pretoria, for example, is saying that it's high time that this institution is representative of the current realities as opposed to 1945 after the Second World War.
Yeah. Let's just talk about something very topical, of course, the issue of recognition of the state of Palestine by the United Kingdom, by Australia, by Canada, maybe with some conditions, but I mean, even that's further than they've ever gone before, right? How significant is that in the context of your point about, you know, calls for UN reform and the ongoing UN Security Council veto? USA Security Council veto, yeah.
Very much so. So, Ashraf, it is a very significant moment for Palestine because, I mean, you look at all the accords, so whether you're looking at Oslo Accords and many other agreements that have been reached, but obviously not having succeeded. And the very big question has always been around the recognition of the Palestinian states, that so long as the Palestinians really don't have self-determination, the current, you know, situation that is very untenable, intractable conflict will remain. But I think with the recognition of so many Western countries, as they see that the tide is turning, it's quite a very important moment because it speaks about the foundational phase where you can see actually the peace being achieved. But obviously, it's still quite a very polarizing issue, especially because you still don't have a buy-in from the United States of America. But a number of countries, really, they've shown interest because they say that this conflict must be resolved. And the two-state solution remains a viable option in terms of making sure that you're able to bring these two countries together, where also there are very clearly stated borders for the Palestinians, and also where we can see a ceasefire, and also just so that they have also self-determination, Ashraf. Yeah. And all of these also comes on the back of the very developments that we saw last week, the voting on the UN Security Council, where a number number of countries really said it's important to really see this conflict being resolved.
Interesting, as we talk about it, the Security Council, I understand, and this is just breaking news, Estonia, they've allegedly been under attack from Russia, some Russian violations, and they've called up a meeting of the UN Security Council as we talk. You know much about that in terms of where that's likely to go? I mean, it just happened?
Well, obviously, we know that it's been quite a massive challenge, Ashraf, in the eastern flank of Europe. We've seen so many threats coming from Russia with the drones hovering in so many of the countries and at times really violating their sovereignty. And it is a big concern because I think since the invasion of Ukraine, a number of European countries really are on tenterhooks about these developments, and they've always been calling for Russia to be held accountable. But also something very significant, Ashraf, is that just a short while ago, the marking of the 80 years of the United Nations. We know that this is a very all-important organization that is able to bring so many countries together, but also it's also a very important time for the UN, where it's reflecting on some of the highs and lows, some of the achievements, but also some of the areas of concern, because some of the critics of the UN, they're saying this is an organization that is still quite unreformed and still really facing so many challenges when it comes to the area of consensus. But definitely the issue of Estonia, I think it's going to be a very, very key issue, Ashraf, especially because we know that with the Ukrainians as well, they're hoping that their President Zelensky is going to also bring this issue to the fore, especially when we saw earlier this year where President Trump was meeting with Putin. There was a bit of hope that these conflicts would be resolved, and Ukraine was emphasizing the issue of security guarantees. But this is Estonia is part of NATO, and obviously we know that there are also other countries, really. For example, we saw what's happened in Poland, where also they were raising concern about the presence of the Russian drones.
Okay, let's just go back to South Africa before we wrap up. So, you know, South Africa is positioned as the chair of the G20, outgoing imminently so, right, in a few months' time. South Africa in its position regarding its stance that it's taken regarding the Israel and the ICJ. South Africa in its so-called mediated role that it's attempted to play with regard to exactly that, Russia and Ukraine. And then South Africa on the back foot, even with Donald Trump, in terms of South Africa's own position with our, in inverted commas, this bizarre claim of genocide. All that considered, and there could be a few more, what do you think President Ramaphosa will say when he addresses the UN General Assembly, keeping in mind, I think there's been the general push for multilateralism?
Well, that's right, Ashraf. And also this is a very critical moment because countries like South Africa, for example, they've been calling for the revival of multilateralism, where they say that it's all about collective efforts from so many countries. And for example, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, South Africa will have an opportunity with other G20 countries where the foreign affairs ministers will meet to really look at South Africa's agenda, because it's been widely accepted by so many countries within the G20. In fact, even some of the invited countries, some of the international organizations. In fact, when you go back to December last year, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres was right here in Johannesburg and really talking about the significance of South Africa's priorities, where you talk about climate change, issues around debt sustainability, especially in the global south, Ashraf, where a number of countries are still paying quite exorbitant cost in terms of repayment of loans. But also this is going to be a very critical moment for South Africa, really, to make sure that they do get a buy-in from so many countries in terms of the country's G20 presidency, its priorities, and also what they're trying to achieve. Because, Ashraf, we know that for South Africa, it's always been about making sure that it's just not exclusively a G20 for South Africa, but it represents a wider region. So when you talk about issues around inequality, issues around the impact of climate change, but also very key issues around women empowerment, Ashraf, as we know that there is a 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration. Once again, we're expecting South Africa really to have a say on those issues, but also when it comes to artificial intelligence, some of the pros and cons as well.
Okay. It's going to be a busy time for you, I have no doubt about that, as it'll be for all of us, reflecting on what's going on at the United Nations and that 80th session of the UN General Assembly. Appreciate your time, Kalitle Khumalo from the SABC News International Desk. This is the National Pulse. It's time for the news headlines. Here's Greg.
Quick look at the headlines. The National Police Commission has told the Matlanga Commission that the Deputy Police Commissioner, Shadrack Sabia, was barred from probing businessman Vusikat Matlala due to their close personal ties. The Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister says South Africa will push for the mobilization of equitable resources at the upcoming G20 Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group meeting. And reports from the DRC say the M23 rebels have captured a key town in South Kivu. We'll have more on that story and other news at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Buccleuch has a crash reported after Marlborough Drive. The N1 southbound in Pretoria, a crash after Garsfontein Road, and the N12 westbound in Diepkloof, queuing towards the N1 Diepkloof interchange. In KZN, on the N2 northbound in Chatsworth, a fatal crash reported before the M1 Higginson Highway exit, causing some serious delays. The M7 St John's Avenue northbound in Pinetown has a crash reported at the M13 Highway and Chris Hani Road westbound, queuing at the N2 Highway. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound queuing towards Koeberg interchange, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and the M7 Jakes Gerwel Drive southbound in Mitchell's Plain slow moving towards the R300 Highway Junction. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
Right, one thing after the other, from cricket early to the launch of the Carling Knockout.
Yes, we're starting things off with football this hour, where the Carling Knockout has officially been launched with round of 16 draw out. Magezi FC will begin their title defense against Amazulu, while Orbit College hosts TS Galaxy. Durban City take on Polokwane City. Richards Bay welcome Chipa United, while Golden Arrows have a tough task at home to High Flyers Kukune United. This year's Carling Knockout is set to kick off on the 4th of October. We're at the round of 16, while the quarterfinals will take place on the weekend of the 25th of October, and the semis are scheduled for the 8th of November, with the final on the 6th of December. Elsewhere, Paris Saint-Germain forward Ousmane Dembele is tipped to hold off Barcelona sensation Lamine Yamal and win the men's Ballon d'Or. The world of football will gather for a glitzy ceremony in Paris to discover who will be the next winners of an award dominated for so long by Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Then in cricket, veteran Proteas wicket-keeper Quinton de Kock has reversed his international retirement. This is after 2 years and has been included in both the ODI and T20 international squads to face Pakistan and Namibia. De Kock retired for the 50-over format at the end of 2023 ICC Men's World Cup and last played T20 cricket in the final of the World Cup in Barbados in June 2024. And coach Shukri Conrad says that the experience he brings will definitely help with some of the all-format players rested for this upcoming tour.
I did say that the ODI space presents us with an opportunity to see younger players. I did say that of the older guys, we'd take stock after T20 World Cup. So everybody's in the frame for the T20 World Cup, and then post that we'll have a look and take stock, with regards to guys like David and Rassie and Kesh and all of those guys. Let's call them the slightly older brigade. Whether Quinny falls in that is another conversation. But as you'd have noticed, we obviously resting quite a few of our all format players. So the guys that are playing the test matches, only two of them stay on in DRV and Corbin. for the ODIs and the T20s. And you still need some experienced heads around, you know. And again, I mean, Kwani ticks that box.
Well, then on to the women's front. Pakistan beat the Proteas women by 6 wickets in the third and last ODI, losing that series 2-1. The Proteas women were bowled out for 115 after 25 overs after batting first. And Nashra Sandhu claimed a career best of 6 for 26 with Laura Fulvard top scoring for South Africa at 28. In reply, Pakistan posted 117 for 4. Meanwhile, still staying with women's cricket, the DP World Lions Cricket Club CEO Jono Leafright has confirmed that they will be introducing the blind women's cricket team in a few weeks as part of their long-term strategic plan to help grow the women's game. Now, the Lions Cricket launched their 2025-26 season in style, introducing their men's and women's team squads at the Wanderers Stadium last week. And Leafright adds that they will also be launching the club's new app mainly for accessibility.
We're launching this season the first ever blind women's team in the country. The Deep World Lions blind women's team is launching in a couple of weeks, and it's a fantastic initiative. So incredible to see these women coming out and playing cricket and enjoying themselves. So we're really excited about that. And obviously launching the 5G network platform with Telkom, which was done a couple of years ago. But now the Lions app, which is fan-centric, focused and really going to connect everybody within the stadium for the season ahead, is something that we're excited about. So as the Lions app launches and we've got these teams that really embody the spirit and the legacy of champions, the season ahead is going to be a great one.
In motorsport, Christian Horner has officially left Red Bull after agreeing a multi-million-pound exit package that will allow him to make a swift return to Formula One. Horner was sacked in July from his dual roles as Red Bull Racing team principal and chief executive after 20 years in charge of one of the sport's most successful outfits. The 51-year-old reportedly reduced a payout in the region of around 75 million euros to ensure that he will be allowed to return to the sport as soon as next year. Then before I say goodbye, just looking at the predictions from Friday.
I noticed you wearing a Manchester United.
I am. I am. We're
So
celebrating.
it's on live streaming. If you want to check it out, it's all available. Check it out.
Celebrating teams that have won. I mean, who would have thought we'd come here and be saying that Manchester United won?
My goodness, the world has changed. Yeah.
But looking at the predictions, I was right with the Spa Baby Proteas beating Barbados.
All
Well
right.
done to that. Proteas woman winning that one. I was wrong with Arsenal and Man City. It was a draw.
What did you
Remember, I
say?
had said Arsenal was going to win.
Okay. All right.
And also, I was wrong with Stellenbosch and Richards Bay playing to a draw. Richards Bay won that one. And I said Norris was going to win in F1, but it was Max Verstappen.
Okay. So how many did you get right?
Oh, guys, 2.
2. So you're back to just above 35% pass rate. You're in trouble, eh?
So people that listen to me on Friday, guys, excusing if you lost money, sorry.
Listen, talking about that, I mean, Chemba, our producer, loves Arsenal.
Arsenal, yeah.
And the fact that you lost out on your vote because they messed it up
Mhm.
with a 96th minute equalizer,
Literally.
with a glorious Martinelli goal, he'd be thrilled.
I
Never
know.
mind you losing out.
Even this Richards Bay Stellenbosch, it was in the 93rd minute. Like, guys,
Well, there you
I was almost spot on. But with that said, ke nna tumeng kgapele Modimo ke yo.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent No and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
In fitness, as in finance, endurance is key. If you're 55 and older, you can get an interest rate of up to 10.62% with a Netbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Now feel the earn. Invest in under 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Netbank. See money differently. Netbank. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply. For more info, visit netbank.co.za.
The Morning Brief.
So what have you made of the narratives that have sought to question even your own integrity as a Chapter 9 institution? Some of them questioning who funds you, who sponsors you, who donates to the South African Human Rights Commission. I'm sure you've heard all of those.
Absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. Let me start with myself. I'm driving a Baleno, and you know it's a Suzuki. It's a Baleno.
Yes.
I'm driving a Suzuki, a small car. Even when we travel, because of our cost containment, we are driving small cars.
Chris Nesson is the chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission.
Tulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Jimmy Moyahai, next time you go away for a week, you need to give us notice on air so we know. Having said that, what's on the agenda today?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the SAFM listeners. I apologize for not giving a notice. I will definitely make sure that I do that. I don't plan these trips very often. I don't intend to leave our listeners without market updates, but I understand that Dudu Ramela held down the fort exceptionally well while I was away. I am back, and we are going to continue with the business of what moves businesses, and we're going to be taking a look at the latest conversation from the team at Signia, the Signia CEO Magda Wierzycka, coming out to say that the Bitcoin craze is not all it's made out to be, and she's got some very strong opinions around the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. This is interesting because Signia, as an asset manager in South Africa, has recently launched a cryptocurrency related ETF. So we're going to dig into that with Signia. We're going to speak to the CEO of the company and get a sense of where we stand on cryptocurrency and whether or not they are long-term investments, speculative investments, high risk, low risk, and everything else in between. We're going to get into that. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Old Mutual Insure, taking a look at the importance of trust within small and medium-sized enterprises and what small and medium-sized enterprises can do in the trust economy we live in today. We've also got a conversation with the CEO of Asakalecha around the implications of potentially one of the first cases that relates to expropriation without compensation going to courts. This case dates back to 2018 when a piece of land was expropriated from a company, and subsequently the municipality that has expropriated that piece of land has not yet paid for it and is now being taken to court for compensation in that regard. We're going to take a look at that and see what the implications of that would be on South Africa. We know that that is a very contentious topic at the moment. It's gone as far as Washington, and everybody has weighed in on whether or not expropriation without compensation is a good thing. We're going to take a look at this, and we're going to see what we make of this particular case and what this particular case could mean for other cases in the future. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Momentum Wealth, taking a look at the drawdown rate of guaranteed annuities and understanding that this is part of an ongoing conversation we've been having with the team at Momentum Wealth around guaranteed annuities and guaranteed certainty. We're going to take a look at the drawdown rates of these products and what we make of that. And then we're going to wrap up the show with an EV conversation as part of our Digital Drive Mondays. We're going to get a look at the latest EV to be launched in South Africa, potentially the cheapest EV to hit the South African market in the form of the BYD Dolphin Surf. We're going to have our resident tech and EV specialist, Nafisa Akabor, join us. She's recently test-driven the vehicle. It was launched last week, and she's already been in the vehicle, and she's going to give us her thoughts around that and what it means for the EV landscape. So that's what's coming up on the show today. We're also going to be looking at the markets, of course, and speaking of those markets, a sense of how they've been performing as we start off this week. The rand firmer, much firmer against all of the majors. The dollar giving back a lot of ground against pretty much all the currencies. $1 at the moment would cost you around 17 rand 35 cents. 1 British pound would set you back 27 rand 43. €1 20 rand and 43 cents. 1 Australian dollar 11 rand and 43 cents. And if we look at the price of a Bitcoin, 112,700 odd dollars per Bitcoin, or in rand terms with that stronger rand, 1,960 odd thousand, 1,960,000 odd rands there. That depends on what exchange rate you are looking at, of course, from that perspective. If we look at the commodity side of things, the gold price, new all-time highs, $3,732 a fine ounce, fast approaching $3,800 a fine ounce. I suspect potentially at this point, and I might just put my head on the block about it, we could potentially see $4,000 per fine ounce before the end of the year. But we'll dig into that when we look at markets a little later on. For now, the Brent crude price, $66.44 a barrel, much better than the $70 that we've seen in recent times. Platinum, 1,416, palladium, 1,208. And on the local front, if we look at the resource counters, they were benefiting off of that stronger gold price, up 2.3%. Financials down 1.3% and industrials down 0.9%. I've got Pietri Redlinges of Herenia Capital on markets a little later on. We're going to look at these market movements and what we make of them when we come back. This is the final week of September. We might have 2 trading days into next week, but this is the final full week of September, so we're going to look at that and see what it means for markets. But that comes up after 6 p.m. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that and welcome back. And yes, Badudu was terrific, as you expect and do know. But that comes up with Jimmy, 6 to 7 on the SFM Market Update. What comes up next is you.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, lots of comment about Helen Zille.
Good day, Ashraf. Quick question. Didn't the DA have a mayor in Joburg? I want to know what happened then. And what's going to be different now? Thank you, Thabo. Kimberly.
In fact, they did have a mayor. His name was Herman Mashaba, remember? And that is why, if you follow the tweets between Herman Mashaba and Helen Zille in the last 2 days, wow, it's days of our lives. I can tell you that now. If I get a chance, I'll read some of it. It is very interesting.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Hope you're well. As regards Helen Zille, don't you think it would be great that if media and the general public can get past their skepticism of why someone wants to do something and also get past the racial element and just vote people in for their ability? It would be so great if South Africa could get to that point. Mark from Cape Town.
Well, thanks for that, Mark. I think you're right. I have no problem asking the question about what's the game plan, because I think that's expected for me, and I've said so just now. There has to be a strategy, to fix up Joburg, because they're the low-hanging fruits for the DA to prove they are capable of running this city. And if they run that well, they would be very, very convincing to try and get more votes for the elections. I mean, general elections, simple thing to me. In terms of the white-black issue, really, it's not so much the media. I think all of us, ultimately, it's up to the political leaders, white or black, to be able to convince everyone in the country that they are so good at what they do, irrespective of their color, of their skin, of their tribe, or their religion, or their faith, or whatever, because they're just so good. And if that's the case, people will rally around them and vote for them. That's a long haul, but it's really up to them to reach out to us, not the other way around.
Hi, Ashraf. On the issue of Helen Zille, I think listening to the people as they comment on the issue, I'm picking up that they have an issue with Helen Zille as a person, but not as a leader. Because most of the attacks, they are attacking her personally as an individual. But in terms of her skills and what she has to bring to the table, that's a different story. So, I'm for Helen Zille as mayor. This is Nkululeko Ntimba, KZN Midlands in Newcastle. Lovely show.
Thank you. Glad you enjoyed it. I'll tell you what, I've been critical about Cape Town, the city that's just so glorious. It depends which part of the city that you live in. And then the Cape Flats and the gang warfare continues for decades on end. And I think we must be critical about that. So you can't say the whole of Cape Town is magic if you don't include all those other township Cape Flats areas that we speak about. Think about like Hanover Park and Lavender Hill and that sort of thing, right? On the other hand, the DA's point about policing in those areas that forms part of national policing, listen, if I'm wrong, tell me, I think it's a valid claim. They can only do so much. They need national government policing to come in and handle that issue, which in fact that's what they're doing right now. They want to have it changed to regional, and they say that the national governance of policing in the country is actually it's causing a complete hamstrung situation. Now, there's a point there, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, on the issue of Helen Zille, me personally, I wouldn't vote for or wish that DA governs Joburg, because looking at the history, DA and Helen Zille has got the history of neglecting the black community, let me rather say, or the township. They often care about where there's business people or where there's wealthy people. That's their main focus. So in general, I wouldn't vote for DA.
Well, here's a conundrum. I think for those that don't want to vote for the DA, there's valid reason for you not to vote for the DA. For those within the ANC who don't want to vote for the DA and say never, because look at how white you are, I think what's an interesting point coming out of that is that what happens then to the ANC that actually governs black communities? What's your track record in that community? And think of Joburg as just one big, large community. What's your track record? So the very fact that the Helen Zilles of the world can see a gap and try and get into that space is really a reflection on the ANC shortcomings more than anybody else. And that's why I said so. It's a referendum on the ANC, not actually of Helen Zille.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You see, this thing of Helen Zille running for a mayoralship of Johannesburg, I think it's sabotage from the DA. They are self-sabotaging because many people don't really like Helen Zille. So her being the front runner for that in Gauteng, I think they are going to lose their votes there. So that's a problem. They must look into that.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'd love to have been the fly on the wall on that strat meeting from the DA when they decided, hey, listen, we need to get Zille to contest Joburg. We see a gap there. That sort of thing had to have happened, isn't it? More to come in a moment.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
The Blues fully get it that victory at Stamford Bridge brings more joy to their fans.
As this corner goes into the centre, and there is João Pedro!
But the Seagulls want to avoid mistakes and deliver an excellent game plan.
Max Milner with a little shuffle, the run up, and into the bottom corner. Beautifully converted by James Milner against his former club.
This is the Premier League. Experience Chelsea FC versus Brighton and Hove Albion FC on Saturday, 27 September at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the
game. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
I mean, I just got a message here, which I think this is asked and answered because it's South African Sign Language. There's no like Tswana sign or Venda sign, which is what the message is. Can one sign in indigenous language just like Venda and Tswana and no?
Okay, when we're interpreting on telly, we're interpreting actually for people who tune in from KZN, Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and they would all understand us because sign language is just one South African sign language which incorporates basically all South African languages, so that anyone, whether you are Venda speaking, Xhosa speaking, you would understand because sign language is just one language because we have to make sure that it's accessible for all.
Fortune Madlala and of course Umpo Teme.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, more to come from you. I mean, whether you're calling in, whether you're commenting, go for it. Just to tell you, I mean, let's just consider this for the moment in terms of those DA numbers, right? In the last general election, the ANC, and I'm talking about in Gauteng only, right? So Gauteng province, ANC 34% of the vote, only, the DA 27, the EFF 12, the MK Party 9, and Action SA 4. Now, if you go to the last local government election in terms of the city of Joburg, this is interesting. The ANC 33, which mirrors the provincial, but it's city of Joburg. Then the DA 27, which also mirrors the provincial. Then you get Action SA, which actually got 16%, by the way, in that last election, and the EFF 10. The question to both the ANC and the DA is, does any party have enough to get to 50 on their own? It seems very unlikely. So who they go to make chommies with? That's a big question to ask and to answer as well.
Greetings to the National Pulse listeners. This is Goodman here from Bombela. To be honest, I would say, as for the Joburg mayorship, let Granny Nkosazana Zuma be the one who takes over. I think I can trust her in terms of discriminatory behavior. So I may not trust the other Granny Zile. Yeah, I think they deserve something better, the Joburg people. Another thing, thank you for the wonderful show. Pleasure.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. So, thank you. When you said Zuma for mayor, of course, it's the other Zuma, just so that we don't get confused, right? As you've said. Here's another issue that's come up.
Good evening, SAF listeners. I show apology to all of us who use their energy in fighting drugs, peddlers, and drug smugglers in this country. Then I could support them. I thank you.
Okay, lots about that one too.
Afternoon, Ashraf. As to the question whether I'll vote for Helen Zille or not, I'll first use a yardstick. I'll check the lifestyle of people in Nyanga, Guguletu, Masphumelele, Stwetla, Bothevel, as to whether did their lives improve under the DA. Then that will guide me. I'm not going to follow the lifestyle of Constantia Park and other suburbs where they're living their first world-class life. That will guide me. When it comes to Joburg, Alexander will remain Alexander. But it's coming for this Sunning Hill and other suburbs, Ilovo, Sandton, that way life is going to improve. Not Alexander, not Soweto. Major from Guatemala.
Okay, listen, I think your point is valid. Say, what have you done with the Cape Flats and the townships of Cape Town? And then let's hear that answer. On the other hand, and this is an interesting one, what have the others in power in Joburg, what have they done to all the suburbs that you've just mentioned above? If you get my point.
Hi, good afternoon. Al-Shaf Johnson here in Bombela. I see there are those who are so critical of Helen Zille's availability for the position of mayorship in Joburg. My take is, if she's able to do the job, let's allow her to do it. There are so many ancestors in parliament. There are so many ancestors holding top position in government and the like, in the private sector. If they are able to do the job, let her do the job, irrespective of who the person is. I don't care, as long as I get service delivery.
Well, I mean, she's got to prove that she can service deliver to you. The point is, we're only talking about her. Remember, elections are like probably at least a year away, right? We're only talking about that mayoral election now because it's Helen Zille. If it was any other, DA member or even any other new ANC member or any other political party, I can tell you now, it would not even be discussed, not now, until the 11th hour, only because it's Helen Zille and her position in the party political space of our country.
Let's just say the devil loves Helen and she wins the mayoralship of Joburg. She's already on radio casting aspersion on workers. How is she going to survive without the support of workers? We are waiting for her. She must come. We'll teach her a lesson. This is not Cape Town.
Oh my, we are waiting for her.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Mr. Suleiman. Yeah, clap, clap, clap to the citizens of Gauteng. At last, somebody is brave enough to take it up and clean out an international city like Johannesburg. People are fed up now with no service delivery, and it's a double problem for people. And I think they are now going to enjoy this city once it's been redeveloped by the people who have proven that they can develop.
Okay, well, I mean, interesting one. I think that's important to remember that Helen Zille has only stood for election. She's not yet elected, not at all. She has to convince people like myself and other citizens of the city of Joburg to actually vote for her. So we are making the assumption that actually she's got the job. She doesn't have the job. She's put her name into the hat and clearly has convinced others. Here's an interesting one to end with, okay? Phumzile van Dam, of course, once of the DA said, how the DA will lose, this is the tweet, okay? How the DA will lose Joburg. Give Helen free reign of the mic on radio and TV. B, how the ANC will lose Joburg. Keep Dada as the face of your Joburg campaign. C, how other parties will win. Let A and B happen. Leave them be. Never interrupt your enemy while he or she makes a mistake. Let's leave it at that. That's the National Pulse. Tomorrow, once again, we're going to feel that National Pulse and see what you're thinking. Here's Greg with the news at 6.
Thank you again. Ashraf Masemola testifies on Mahlala.
This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily That's My Point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young